Hello, my name's Andrew, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about the Swordsoul deck in Master Duel. We're going to show 5 duels of me playing this deck on stream. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about the deck list. If you guys like this kind of content, really appreciate if you'd subscribe to the channel. Only 27% of people are actually subscribed to the channel that watch, so it really does mean a lot just to click that button. But without further ado, let's jump into this list. So this is currently my favorite Swordsoul deck to play. I talk about this deck in length in my previous Swordsoul video, so if you're interested in that, I'll put the link in the description. But I made a few minor changes since then to my desires list. I actually added Despot 001. You sometimes banish this off the desires, but the payoff is greater than the risk, because if you banish it, you just don't go for those lines. And it allows you to make Halqifibrax sometimes before normal summoning, and put up a lot of threats of negation before committing to your real play, using Ashuna, Adhara to get free special summons and tuners. It's quite a nice tool to have in your arsenal, and I couldn't pass it up. I also added Tenyi Spirit Shathana to the deck. As a level 4, you can special summon off of Ashuna, and I'm currently testing out Danglong the First of the Yang Zing in this slot. However, that could be any of these cards: Herald of the Arclight, Psyframe Lord Omega, Crimson Blader, or Dragite. And you can replace Vessel for the Dragon Cycle with your Heavenly Dragon Circle. They both provide different utility. I like Heavenly Dragon Circle since it can search Protoss. But without further ado, let's jump into the first replay. Alright, let's start up the first duel. We got 2 Moye, Ataya, an Ecclesia, and Emergence. Emergence is first, adding Long Wan. We want to set up a negate before we commit to our normal summon. So this is always the play I would go for, making Baronne de Fleur before normal summoning the Mo. So then we're going to burn for a little bit of damage, Moye reveal Taya, and make our token. Going to go into Xixiao, very standard play here. Xixiao is going to search Blackout. We draw ourselves a Summit, which is nice, and we'll set the Blackout. Summit's just good for follow-up, no need to overcommit. And my opponent starts by imperming the Baronne, sure, and then they just Lightning Storm my board, so yeah, it is what it is. Maybe we should have put the Baronne in defense position, but it wouldn't have changed too much here. They go into an Enforcer with a hard-drawn Fusion Destiny and pop out my back row. So it's Enforcer versus the world. We have quite a bit of follow-up. I'm feeling rather confident, honestly. So Enforcer comes back, as he does, and we're going to start things off by special summoning Ecclesia, since my opponent has a monster. Activate Summit to try and bring back my negate, but it gets DD Crowed. And we're going to go into a Moye next. Moye reveal Adhara. This prompts the Enforcer. They have to respond to this, and we have a really nice play. Because the Blackout's in Graveyard, we actually get to make 2 tokens for the price of 1, and this is easily lethal. 6,800 damage is nothing to a fully established Swordsoul player. Like, turn 3, this deck just does so much damage. That's like one of its biggest strengths, honestly. So I wanted to flex a little bit. Definitely didn't misclick on the Boxia here, and we're going to use Emergence to grab Protoss. That should put us in lethal territory, so we're going to special that one out and close out the first duel, so pretty clean sweep. Next, I have a game where I opened up Adhara, Ecclesia, Pot of Desires, Called by the Grave, and Summit. My opponent's going first, and they activate Tenki, Search Fractal, playing against Tri-Brigade Duelist, sending a few things to Graveyard. My hand's pretty good here. Called by the Grave isn't great against Tri-Brigade, so that might not get a lot of value, but this deck does play a lot of hand traps, so probably going to hold it for like an Ash Blossom on Ecclesia. They're going to set some and pass. I'm expecting a Revolt, even though they didn't search it. We're going to go ahead and Desires first, you know, see what we draw. And, oh, love to see it. Rewarded. And what did it cost? Lost 2 Moyes, a Taya. Nothing we can't replace, just duplicates pretty much. So, love to see it. Perfect Pot of Desires. My opponent's going to use the Revolt. That's getting forced out here. And special summon out a Shurig. Shurig's nice, doesn't have to use its effect right away. So they have that Shurig on the back. Alright. Got Val here hanging out. So we'll start with Adhara, special summon. We're trying to bait out the last layer of interruption, the Shurig, and Vishuda's the best card to do it. Special summoning the Vishuda here means that my opponent pretty much has to respond. If they don't, we just make a second monk and, you know, bounce their Shurig, so it's just game over. We get our Vishuda back using the Adhara effect, and then start things off with Ecclesia the Virtuous. Summoning out Moye's effect. Getting Nibiru'd. So the rock comes down, destroying everything that I had set up, but our hand is really great for this. Having the Summit to follow up bringing back the Mo is pretty nice, and I can just normal summon the Adhara and go into the Danglong. So I'm like, oh, I finally get to use Danglong, but in retrospect, I don't think I used Ashuna, so making a Halka-Fibrex would have just pretty much been better. Anyways, I do get into Shengying here. Nice, I think that was a lucky draw off of the Moye, and sending away Ashuna just for a little extra kick. I could have found lethal here in retrospect if I just made like a Shaman with these and brought something back, discarding Call by the Grave. That would have definitely been a lethal push, but I didn't see it at the time. I was just advised by chat that could have been done. Regardless, I mean, this is basically over. My opponent gave me a 10,000 attack token, so we're just gonna bonk him with it and close out that duel. Pretty grindy, but we played through the Nibiru. In this next one, I opened up the desk bot. I've got Taya, the long one, Ashuna, and Vessel. So a pretty good hand. Was testing out Vessel here. My opponent starts things off with Ecclesia the Virtuous and goes into a Moye of their own, revealing Adhara. Going second in the mirror match is pretty fine. I'm actually prefer it since you can just break their board and set up. It's really hard to lose from that scenario. So my opponent starts things off with the Shishao going into a Moye draw. I think they're going to have a pretty standard board here with Longwan in hand. Just expecting a blackout in the back. Going into a Baronne de Fleur. A little bit of burn damage set too. So I'm like, okay, it's definitely blackout and something else, right? So we draw a Shiwen. Was testing out a few different variants over the course of the stream. This was just a really good mirror match to show. My opponent calls by on my Ashuna, and I get to use Vessel of the Dragon Cycle. If this resolved, it would have been a huge problem, since we get to send another worm. We can send away a Vishuda and add an Adhara. Adhara gives us the Halka-Fibrex, and the Vishuda baits out the Baronne. So it pretty much breaks their whole board before we commit to our normal summon, and that would have been game. So my opponent does have to Ash this, or, you know, Baronne de Fleur. But that kind of accomplishes the same thing. We're going to use Long next and special summon him. My opponent doesn't negate this, which is really confusing to me. I go into Baronne de Fleur, and I'm kind of scared of this back row being a blackout, so I decide to go to battle phase, and my opponent negates the Baronne on the attack declaration. I try and chump check them by targeting the back row, and they're like, nah, dude, I know what's up. So I normal summon Taya. They baited out everything I had and still haven't used their Baronne de Fleur. It's like very patient. So I now understand why they made their plays, because an infinite impermanence was set, and they made the read that they could just negate my normal summon with the infinite and keep their Baronne negate live. So they managed to do this, and during the next turn, I'm basically at their mercy, and since they start things off with Emergence, I have to negate it, and they just negate my negate and search themselves the best going second card that you can have. Taya. Banish, special summon, reveal, banish, add, and then we get the Longwan back. They're going to go into Shishao, getting the other card they need to discard, and the writing is on the wall for me. My opponent can easily deal 6,800 damage with this much forward pressure in Swordsoul. And Shengying, yeah, is probably the best card to do it. So, gonna lose the mirror match here. Could I have played that differently? Maybe. We had too many bricks. I had the Chiwen, I had the Deskbot, and in the mirror match, those small lacking cards, like if those cards in my hand were live, I would have had a much higher chance of winning this game. Duel number 4. We opened the Max C. I've got Moye, Ecclesia, Longwan, and Emergence. So really good hand, honestly, going first. I'm gonna start with Moye, reveal the Long, and special summon a token, activate Emergence, grab Taya, and then before I synchro summon with the Mo, I'm gonna special the Long. This plays around Nibiru, since my 5th summon is Baronne. Burn him a little bit, and then we're going into a Shishao. Very standard play here, backed up by a Max C is, I mean, all you can really ask for with Swordsoul. So we draw a dud, the Shiwen, and set the blackout. My opponent activates Branded Opening, and I'll chain Max C. They could just add the monster here instead of normal summoning it, but they don't. So I do get a draw off the Max C, and we did draw an Ash Blossom, so that's pretty huge. This will get negated by the Shishao. My opponent normal summons and activates Theater. This was a misplay, obviously. I don't know why they did this, but what I wanted to mention with this duel is in the Despia mirror match, or the Despia matchup, you want to specifically negate their fusion spells. If you just negate all of their fusion spells, then they usually can't play the game since they're locked into fusions. I usually reserve any negates, any destruction effects I have to theater, polymerization, and it's worked out pretty well so far. So I just wanted to mention that, and that's why we showed this duel. All right, and to close it out, I have a hand of Ashuna Moye, Feather Duster, Called by the Grave, and Blackout. I'm going to special the Ashuna, normal the Moye, reveal Blackout, and go into a Xixiao. Xixiao will activate, getting a search and a draw. I'm going to end up drawing an emergence, and we're searching out a long. So this is pretty solid here. Search out another Ashuna, and I will discard it for long to get a body on the field. Ashuna will then trigger to special summon a level 1, and I will get an additional level 8 synchro due to the Tenyis just generating this out of nowhere. I am locked into Worms, so no making Baronne de Fleur here, making Shengying instead. But this seems pretty solid. Since we have Blackout, you can target Shengying, target 2 of their cards, protection effect on the Shengying, and then banish another card from their field and graveyard. So when you have Blackout and Shengying together, it's just like really, really strong. Sometimes even stronger than Baronne de Fleur. My opponent activates Salamangreat Circle and searches out a Fox. Sends the Fox to the graveyard without using the effect and goes into Balinx. This is irrelevant since they're just searching for a field spell. In this deck, if you stop their normal summon, they only have 1 extender in its Gazelle, which is completely countered by the Draco Berserker, banishing the Gazelle out of their hand and in one fell swoop, removing all the cards from the opponent's field. So this matched up really well against these normal summon decks. If you just have Blackout, it's pretty devastating. And then Shengying taking their last card before they scoop it up. So that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I'm definitely going to be doing more Swordsoul videos. The next one I have planned is showing 5 different ways that you can play the Swordsoul cards in different decks. If you do like this content and want to see more, really appreciate a subscription to the channel. And I hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.